I used AI in my novel as a character. That's right. I took the concept of artificial intelligence and I made it a character inside of my book. You guys know that I am a techie person. I teach technology professionally, and I love taking all of my stories and my retellings and the things that I'm creating and putting a techie spin on a lot of them. And so years ago, long before most of you knew what AI was, back when AI was not accessible by most people, I took AI and turned it into a character inside of one of my books. The Goose Girl and the Artificial is a retelling of the Goose Girl story. I don't like the Goose Girl story. I don't like the character. I don't like what happens to some of the other characters. I don't find a lot redeemable about that story, but I know some people love it. And I was specifically asked to rewrite it. And so I needed to come in and create a logical reason for why a handmaid would steal the princess's identity and ruin the wedding and all of the things that happen to the horse and the things. It's just not good. It's just not good, guys. So I had to level it up a little bit, and I wanted to put a techie twist on it. So the Goose Girl story is about a princess who's going to marry a foreign prince, and on her journey from her kingdom to his kingdom, the handmaid steals the identity and pretends to be the princess and forces the princess to pose as the handmaid, and she's going to take her place. And so in my story, I have shaped this up a little bit. I've got a princess who is traveling to a foreign country to make a treaty with a foreign prince. We're not getting married here. We're just forming a treaty. We're forming an alliance so that we can further both of our kingdoms when we take the crown, right? And maybe there's a little flirting on the back end of it, but that's not why she's there. She's going to do a political treaty. And on the way, her artificially intelligent handmaiden steals her identity because she was hacked. The system was overrode. Someone really bad wants power and wants things to happen. And so he uses this artificially intelligent robot that he's now reprogrammed to do his bidding. And he threatens the queen, the princess's mother. And so she has to kind of go along with this just to protect herself, to protect the foreign prince and king when they get there. Because, like, what are you going to do? You've got a robot that's going to be able to overpower you physically and now has some leverage on you. And so she has to kind of go along with this, but also to protect her mother back home. And so now we get to be in this techie world where we have artificially intelligent robots and normal robots that are just programmed to do things. And so instead of having a horse, which I'm so sorry, I have to tell you this. In the original story, the horse gets beheaded. They put it up on a wall and it still talks. Fairy tales, right? I wasn't going to do that. I'm a horse girl. And so I transformed the horse into just a normal robot. So it's not an artificially intelligent robot. It is programmed to do different things, but it's kind of like a little robot puppy dog. Not really, but like it's got that golden retriever energy. And so when it's decapitated, it's very easy on the back end to fix it. And it's not like we've just chopped up a horse's head, which is just traumatizing to me in so many ways. And so I used artificial intelligence and some of the potential flaws of artificial intelligence and robots and just technology in general. And I turned it into a character. She gets to override what is going on because she is hacked and things are happening. She doesn't have the control that she once had because artificial intelligence kind of has the ability to think for itself. Not quite, but like, you know the drill with AI. And so I got to use this as a character, which I really, really like. I very much like doing forward-thinking and future-focused technology in a lot of my stories. I love writing dystopians, which is like well into the future. So obviously the technology there is going to be more advanced. It's going to be more interesting. And even in my fantasy books, I have worked in technology, my Hansel and Gretel retelling, for example. And being able to work with AI was just a really, really fun thing for me to do. And it was back in the day when like people kind of knew AI was coming, but it definitely was not here yet. And I definitely had a friend at the time, another author, who was not thrilled with me for going beyond what she was doing in the author community. And she just liked to nitpick at whatever she could in my life. And so she goes, well, that's not how AI works, babe. It is. It is, especially in a futuristic setting. And so you get to really play with like, what is AI? How is this impacting the society? How does this work? How does a hack of AI work? How does reprogramming some of these things and training those AI models differently? What is that going to look like? And I got to do it before we had things like ChatGPT, before we had Gemini, before we had a lot of these AI technologies built into other technologies like cameras. Most of you didn't have access to that. So it was kind of a foreign concept back when this novel came out, and novelette, I should say. It's a short story. But I really get to play those things up. And now I've seen it stand the test of time, because as we're developing more and more and more of these AIs, you can see more and more bits of like how we've walked down the path from where, when this book came out, AI really wasn't a thing to the general public. And now you can see how it's impacting everyday lives and how it's taking over things and how it's having communications with us, how it's having those conversations, how it's being helpful, how it's being hurtful, how it's doing all of these different things. You can see part of that path. You can walk down that line to see how we got from no AI to AI in the future, in this story, in this fictional world, being so comprehensive and being so invested and community focused that we could have a situation where it is like a human formed robot that looks realistic, moves realistically, thinks pretty realistically, and has the option of potentially taking the spot of a human and being able to fool people to a degree. So it's a really interesting community, really interesting conversation. And just the closer we get to these things, the more we're watching these AIs be built and the ways that we are implementing it into our society. It's a very interesting, very different kind of spin on what I wrote, because it translates differently from when it came out to today. And the way that we can tangibly see AI in our lives and where it could potentially go 100, 200, 500 years from now to potentially a story like that. And so I wrote AI as a character, and it was really freaking fun. And you know what? I kind of want to do it again. Should I create another retelling where AI is a main character? If so, let me know which one you think I should do, because I've got some ideas. And I have something cool coming out for you in the very near future that little cryptic comment's going to make a lot more sense on. So drop your guesses on what I'm hinting at, and I will see you in the upcoming episodes.